Glass is everywhere. Most people have no idea how violent glass really is. What if I told something about glass that will shock you? It looks innocent. A bottle resting on a table, a window in a quiet home, a screen glowing softly in your hand, a windshield protecting you on the road. Smooth, silent, clear. It feels harmless. But that surface hides the truth. Because before glass becomes one of the calmest, cleanest materials in modern life, it passes through something far more brutal than most people could imagine. It is born in a world of fire, pressure, collapse, invisible weakness, and astonishing control. And the strangest part of all is this. It begins with sand. Ordinary sand. The kind you could step on without a second thought. The kind that slips through your fingers and disappears with the wind. And yet, somewhere inside giant factories, that same dusty material is dragged into a world of roaring furnaces, glowing molten heat, mechanical precision, and microscopic danger, until it becomes something so flawless, so transparent, and so deceptively simple that most people never stop to question it. That is what makes glass one of the most extraordinary hidden engineering stories on Earth. Because this is not simply a story about melting sand. It is a story about forcing chaos into order. And if even one stage goes wrong, the result can fail long before anyone ever sees the flaw. So the question is not just how glass is made. The deeper question is this: how do factories take something as common as dirt and turn it into something this precise, this smooth, this perfect, without letting it fail? The answer begins with a truth most people never hear. Not all sand deserves to become glass. That sounds strange at first, because sand feels like one of the most ordinary things in the world. To us, it all looks the same. But not inside the glass industry. Here, sand is judged without mercy. What looks ordinary to the human eye can hide impurities serious enough to ruin an entire batch. Tiny traces of contamination can affect clarity, distort color, weaken consistency, and introduce flaws that may remain invisible until much later. And that is what makes this first step unsettling. Glass does not begin with beauty, it begins with rejection. Before transparency, there is scrutiny. Before elegance, there is elimination. Before the furnace even begins to roar, the raw material must prove it belongs there. Factories search for silica sand with the right purity, the right chemistry, and the right behavior under extreme heat. It is mined, washed, screened, sorted, and processed under standards that seem almost excessive, until you understand what is really at stake. Because glass is unforgiving. The wrong impurity, the wrong ratio, the wrong particle, and failure may already be there from the very beginning. But silica alone is not enough. Other materials are added to the batch as well. Soda ash helps lower the melting temperature, making large-scale production more practical. Limestone helps strengthen the finished glass and improve its chemical durability. Nothing is random here. Every ingredient matters. Every proportion matters. Every batch is carefully controlled, because once the transformation begins, there is very little room for error. And then the material moves toward the place where sand stops being sand. The furnace. This is the heart of the factory, a place of immense hunger, a place built to destroy one identity and force another into existence, a place where raw earth enters solid and leaves as glowing liquid, caught somewhere between obedience and collapse. This is not ordinary heat. This is industrial fire. Inside the furnace, temperatures rise high enough to erase what the eye once recognized as grains. The structure of the sand breaks down. The edges disappear. Solid matter begins to soften, fuse, react, and flow. Gases escape. The material changes character completely. What once felt lifeless becomes molten, bright, unstable. almost alive. The furnace does not simply melt raw material, it strips away its old identity. And this is where the process becomes almost frightening in its precision. Because in glass manufacturing, heat is never just heat. It is not only about getting hot enough to melt the batch, it is about controlling viscosity, reaction speed, gas release, consistency, and flow. If the melt is uneven, the final product will carry that memory. If gases remain trapped, defects remain trapped. If the chemistry is not fully controlled, the glass may look acceptable on the outside and still be compromised within. That is the hidden danger of this material. Some failures are born long before the world can see them. So while the furnace glows like something out of another world, what is really happening is not just melting, it is containment. Containment of fire, containment of chemistry, containment of all the ways the process could fall apart. And once the molten glass is ready, the factory has only a short window to act. Because molten glass is not the final victory. It is a moment of possibility and a countdown at the same time. For bottle production, the next stage is one of the most mesmerizing sights in manufacturing. Streams of molten glass are cut into glowing gobs, each one falling with uncanny precision, like fragments of the sun being dropped into a machine designed to shape fire itself. These glowing gobs are guided into molds. Steel closes around liquid heat, air rushes in, pressure builds, and shape begins to appear. At first, the bottle may take on a rough intermediate form. Then another stage refines it, stretching and blowing it into the final geometry. From the outside, the process looks almost graceful. But that grace is built on tension. This is choreography right at the edge of failure. Every fraction of a second matters. The gob must arrive at the right temperature, hot enough to flow, stable enough to form, not so hot that it collapses, not so cool that it resists the mold. The timing of the air matters, the shape of the mold matters, the speed of the cycle matters, the coordination of the machines matters. Because the bottle does not become beautiful by chance. It becomes beautiful because the factory refuses to let chance take part in the process. This is where industrial discipline begins to feel almost ruthless. The line repeats the same act over and over, under heat, at speed, with no tolerance for hesitation. A slightly flawed neck, a deformed rim, a wall thickness problem, a small asymmetry. At industrial scale, these are not small imperfections, they are multiplying losses. And yet, even here, after the bottle has taken shape, after it seems almost finished, one of the most dangerous stages is still ahead. Because glass has one of the cruelest personalities in manufacturing. It can look perfect while quietly preparing to fail. That is what makes cooling so unsettling. To most people, cooling feels like the easy part, the passive part, the moment when the danger has passed. But in a glass factory, cooling is where hidden weakness is either removed or locked permanently inside the material. If the bottle cools too quickly or unevenly, stress forms within its body, and that stress may not show itself right away. The bottle may survive the production line. It may pass inspection at a glance. It may reach a shelf looking flawless. But inside, failure may already be waiting for pressure, waiting for impact, waiting for temperature change, waiting for the moment the weakness finally reveals itself. That is why annealing is so important. Newly formed glass passes through carefully controlled cooling zones, often in long annealing layers, where temperature is lowered gradually and deliberately. This is not simply rest, it is rescue. The goal is to release internal stress before it hardens into permanent weakness, to save the glass from a fracture that has not happened yet, to protect a beautiful object from becoming a future failure. And that alone changes the way you see glass. Because what looks calm and complete may still be in danger. Then comes inspection, and once again the mood changes. Modern glass factories do not trust appearances. They question them. They test them. Cameras, sensors, bright inspection lights, and automated systems search for scratches, bubbles, distortions, rim defects, cracks, thickness problems, and surface flaws. Units that fail are rejected immediately. No hesitation, no sympathy, no excuses. Because in glass manufacturing, a defect is not just a flaw. It is wasted fire, wasted energy, wasted time, wasted transport, wasted capacity, wasted money. At industrial scale, perfection is not a luxury. It is a form of survival. And if that sounds harsh, it is because the material itself is harsh. Glass punishes shortcuts. It punishes inconsistency. It punishes anyone who mistakes outward beauty for structural truth. But the story becomes even more fascinating here, because bottles are only one side of the glass world. Flat glass, the kind used in skyscrapers, storefronts, cars, mirrors, and architectural panels, presents a completely different challenge. Here, the goal is not to form a container, but to create a flawless surface, broad, smooth, with almost no distortion. And this is where the industry performs one of its most astonishing acts, the float glass process. Molten glass is poured onto a bath of molten tin. Even hearing that sounds strange. A glowing liquid ribbon of glass spreading across liquid metal. It feels less like factory work and more like something impossible, something almost magical. But the beauty of this process lies in the fact that the factory knows exactly when to stop fighting physics and begin working with it. As the molten glass moves across the tin bath, it spreads into a smooth, flat surface. Gravity helps, surface tension helps. The tin creates the conditions that allow the glass to settle into remarkable uniformity. In this moment, the factory stops forcing perfection one point at a time and lets physics help carry the burden. But even here, nothing is relaxed. Temperature must be controlled. Thickness must be monitored. The surface must remain protected. The ribbon must move with steadiness and precision. Downstream systems must cut, carry, and inspect the glass without introducing the very flaws the process worked so hard to avoid. Because in flat glass, failure becomes visible almost immediately. A ripple, a warp, a distortion in reflection, a flaw in clarity. And once that happens, the illusion is broken. That is what makes the float process so beautiful. It looks calm only because an entire industrial system is holding instability back every second. Even waste is treated with discipline. Broken or rejected glass, known as cullet, is often fed back into the process. This reduces the need for virgin raw materials and can lower the energy required for melting. Because real factories are not only chasing quality, they are chasing yield, efficiency, recovery, and control over loss. Nothing wasted if it can be reclaimed. Nothing trusted if it has not been tested. Nothing finished just because it looks good. That is the soul of industrial glass making. And maybe that is why this story feels bigger than glass itself, because it reveals something deeper about modern manufacturing. The world around us is full of ordinary things that only feel ordinary because someone, somewhere, won a hidden battle on our behalf. The bottle in your hand, the window beside your desk, the windshield protecting your face at highway speed, the screen lighting your nights. None of them were born quiet. They were born in raw, born in furnace glow, born in the orange violence of liquid heat, born in steel molds closing around molten matter, born in long, cooling tunnels where invisible stress is either forgiven or preserved, born in inspection systems hunting defects the human eye might never catch, born in a world that cannot afford carelessness for even a moment. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of all. Glass enters our lives without ever telling us how hard it was to become what it is. It arrives polished, still, elegant, as if it had always been this way. But now you know better. Now you know that behind every smooth bottle, every clear pane, every shining facade, there is a hidden world of fire, chemistry, precision, danger, and invisible risk. Now you know that glass is not merely made, it is fought for, and maybe that is why it deserves more awe than it usually gets. Because glass is contradiction made solid, transparent, yet born in darkness and flame, fragile, yet created through brutal force, silent in daily life, yet shaped in places full of roar and heat, simple in appearance, yet incredibly difficult to make perfectly at scale. From this point on, glass should feel different. The bottle in your refrigerator, the mirror in your hallway, the tower window reflecting the evening sky, the windshield in traffic, the screen in your hand. All of it began as dust. Dust that had to be purified, melted, shaped, cooled, inspected, rejected, recycled, perfected. All of it pulled through a hidden industrial world most people will never see. And that is the real secret. The most ordinary things around us are often the survivors of the most extraordinary battles. So the next time you look through a window, or lift a glass bottle, or stare into the glow of a screen, remember this. What looks calm now was once liquid fire. And somewhere beneath that silence, the memory of the furnace still remains. If you love discovering the hidden worlds behind everyday objects, subscribe to Industrium Secrets. Because once you see how things are really made, nothing around you ever looks ordinary again.